All right, so we're working on this 99 Ford Explorer Mercury Mountaineer, whatever, it's all the same. And it's got to actually, this is the column shift, the rod that goes on the steering column. Actually broke in half on the car I'm working on. So I went to the junkyard and picked this thing up. This comes off your steering column. And then this is your switch that goes on there. And then I got the cable also. And the reason why I got the cable is that's probably why this broke. Normally, sometimes these cables will get real hard to move back and forth. And my guess is that's what happened with this one was, not this one, but the one that's on the, is this cable starting to seize up or something's going on with this cable. And he's having to put too much force on it to get it in out of gear. So he had already taken part of the steering column apart to see if he could figure out what was wrong with it. So that was already taken off. But we'll go over and take a look at it and see what we have to do to get this off, which, I mean, I already know I took this off the junkyard. But anyway, I'll show the procedure on taking that off or whatever. So we'll get over there and take a look at it. All right, so the first thing you're going to do if you have to do this on your car, you want to pull this off. There's the plastic panel that comes off first, and there's 4 screws, 7mm underneath there. I already got that off, of course. And then there's a steel plate that goes right here. And there is like 5, I think, 5 8mm bolts that come off. And that'll expose your steering column. And then there's 4 bolts holding the steering column on. There's 2 in the front. There's one right in this area, one right across from it, and then there's 2 in the back. I already got this one loose. So I'm just taking this one nut out here. And then I got one on this side. I just kind of put it up there because this car was actually not at the shop. I had to go get it. So I checked it out yesterday. Found out what the problem was. Went to the junkyard, got the parts. And then I went and got the car. So it was already kind of, this is why it's already kind of tore apart a little bit. So anyway, take those 4 bolts out. That'll drop your steering column down. All right. Now this has, trying to get the lighting right. This is the shaft. This here is the shaft that's broke. And there's a strap that goes across here. I already took that off. And there's an actual. So anyway, this is what you can see it broke in half. And you know, these are the overdrive wires. I just cut those because I got a new harness with the new shifter just to get this out of the way. So anyway, we'll go through the procedures of taking this off. It's pretty simple. You have a cable in the back that goes down to your transmission, of course. Then you have this pigtail that goes at your overdrive button. And you have to fish that out. It's in this wiring harness here. And then it goes down underneath this column, and there's one connector. You just pull that, and then that'll come off. And then back there, you have, you know, these 2 torques. There's one there, one there. And there's 3 on this plate here. So we'll pull those off and pull the cable off, which is right there, that black thing. Again, right there. You have to pull that off. It just pops on it off. So we'll have to take that off. And then this whole unit will come out. And then I'm going to kind of test that cable and see. I'm sure it's probably maybe seasoned up or something, but we'll verify that before I take the cable off. Because actually getting that cable off is a lot harder than just getting this steering shaft out. Because the way it's on the column, you know, Ford doesn't make it easy to get that off. I would have rather they got a snap clip on there, but you can't get a hold of it hardly with anything. So I'd rather just put a bolt in there and be done with it, but they didn't. So anyway, I'm gonna take these torques off, and then we'll work on getting that cable off, and then this should pull out. One thing I forgot to add, since he already had it off, I forgot to add this, but You got to expose your steering column down to this. You have to pull these there's two panels. I can't find the other one. I don't know what he did with it, but this is the bottom one, and there's a top one, and they're just held on by. This is actually the bottom. Actually, there's 3 holes. There's one here, and then the 2 down there. And thankfully, Ford just used regular Phillips screws instead of some kind of fancy Torx or whatever. So yeah, it's just regular Phillips head screws that are up in there. So you have to take those 3 out and then take those off to get down to this bare steering column. I just wanted to add that because I didn't mention that earlier, mainly because he already had it off and I forgot about it. So anyway, what you want to do? These are all Torx. I think they're 30, yeah, T30s. And like I said before, you'll have, if yours is broke like this, you'll have this one here that's held on by 2 Torx. You pull those out, it's T30. And then you have, there's another strap. This one's broke, obviously. It's completely, basically gone. But we still got to pull those screws out. And then you have this bracket here. It actually has three T30s in it. So pull those out and pull those out. And then the shaft should be loose except for your shifter cable. And you might want to get that off first before you take all those out. I just popped it off my hand. So, see if I can get in there. The steering wheel on, it's kind of hard to get in there with the camera. Anyway, you can see way back there. Boy, the lighting and everything's just paint on this one. Anyway, sorry about that. But anyway, here's the cable way back here. It just snaps on and off. So just pull it off first before you take those T30s out. That way you don't have to fight it. It's hooked up to this shaft, which is right here. It's got a little nub on it. Sorry about it. It's hard to get the lights and the cameras and everything in here. So anyway, we're going to knock those T30s out and then I'll pull it out. Alright, so once you get those T30s out, this should pull right out. Like I said, the only thing that's going to hang you up is this overdrive switch. You're going to have to file that down. It goes, you know, it's got some tabs holding it in, and then you file it down underneath the column, and there's a pigtail there, and you separate it. It's pretty easy to get. It's not too hard to get to. I can't really show you on the camera, but you got to trust me on where it's at. And like I said, just file it. So I just cut this one because I got a new, I got a new one at the junkyard. But I actually move the cable back and forth, and it goes real freely. So I don't think it's the cable. This one's the same way. It's about the same as this one, where it moves back and forth real free. So I guess my initial thought of the cable being hung up is wrong. I guess it's just this something was going on in this shaft, maybe some kind of malfunction. So anyway, this is what it looked like. It's completely broken half. So we'll get this installing the new one on and testing out the cable. Like I said, I'm really surprised. I thought the cable was going to be seized up, but it must have been some kind of failure in this actual shaft. So we'll see. I'll put the new one on and we'll see what happens. So that, first thing we'll do is just slide this back in and then put those T30s back in, and then we'll hook the cable up. And anyway, we'll go over it. All right, so I went ahead and slid the new shaft in. You just want to line up your bushings with these brackets. I went ahead and started those. So I'm going to start that back one, and then we'll tighten that all down before we move on. I've already kind of routed that overdrive wire. It goes through these little clips on your plastic holder for the wiring harness. Just run those through and then run it down. I haven't plugged it in yet, but I got it routed down that way. And so anyway, we'll just put that other bracket on we took off, and then we'll tighten those all down. All right, so you can fish this out. This is where your overdrive switch is at, and this is the end that comes in from your, your shifter. So make sure you plug that back in. And then there's one other thing I want to show you. I forgot. All right, on the right side of your column, you have this cable. Get my finger up there. This cable right here. that goes to your shift column, the shifter rod that you just put in. And all that does is tell, it's for your dash, for park, reverse, neutral, drive. It tells you what gear you're in. When you take that off, it'll spring back. It'll spring back down into here. Just pull it back out, hook it to that hook, and all that does is, it's hooked to this, so it moves this back and forth to tell you what gear you're in. I forgot to mention that. That's another thing you have to pull off when you take this shift knob out, or shifter rod. All right, normally this is where I would put this panel, these two pieces back on the steering column. But for the life of me, I can't find the top piece. I don't know. I didn't take it off, so maybe he has it somewhere. I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do at this point is just bolt the steering column back up where it's supposed to be. And I guess leave that lower panel off in case he finds it or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, I'll bolt this back up, and then we'll test it and make sure it goes in and out of gear. Alright, so there's 4 nuts, 13 millimeter nuts holding the steering column to the body. So we're just going to tighten those down. Then there's 2 in the back, and then it'll be all tightened up. Alright, so here's a moment of truth. Put the key in and see if it'll shift out of gear. Ford and their annoying buzzers. Yep. There we go. So that's fixed. Jeez. Hate those Ford buzzers. So I don't know where this panel's at. I'm going to go ahead and just put the bottom panel on because his hood release is hanging on down there. So I'll show you that since I didn't show you how to take it off, which, I mean, not that hard, but anyway, we'll put that back on real quick, put that back on, and then I got the bottom piece, but I just don't know where the top's at. Like I said, I didn't take it off, so who knows. I'm sure he's competent enough to put that back on himself if he needs to. So anyway, we'll do the bottom there, and then this thing's done. So this steel panel goes on before the plastic. It's got 5 8mm bolts. So just start them where they go. Oop. That was tight. Alright. So now what's left is there's a plastic panel, and that also holds your hood release goes on. So if you were doing this, if you were starting this job, you would just take that off in reverse, obviously. But because I didn't show that, I'm going to show putting it back on. Alright, this top plastic panel just snaps in on the top. Then you got 2 7 mils that hold the hood release and the panel to the steel part. I already tightened the other one. And then you have 2 on the outer edge. There's 1 here. And there's 1 here. And that would be it if you were doing this. Now, like I said before, this is missing. I don't know where that panel went. But other than that, it's ready to go. So I want to add one more thing. I think I know what the problem was. So hold on 1 second. I'll go get the part. Alright, so here's my theory on this. Since the cable was free and didn't seem like it had a lot of tension on it, and I talked to him and he said it's been hard to shift for a long time. I think this is your switch here that releases out of park when you hit the brake. And I went ahead and just put the junkyard one on with it. So I didn't actually test this because this didn't even cross my mind. It should have, honestly. But anyway, I think this was not not recognizing that the brake was on. So he was forcing it out of gear, because this wasn't releasing. So I think this is what the original problem. I don't know that for sure because I didn't test it. I probably should have, but it was so broken when I got it. There wasn't much I could do with that old shaft. So, and then I actually assumed that it was the cable, which You know, I've had problems with 4 cables before snapping and doing weird stuff, so that's what I automatically assumed. But I actually think it was probably this was not releasing when you hit the brake, and that's what eventually caused that shaft to break. Because I can't see that shaft breaking just, you know, randomly or whatever. That's a pretty thick. I mean, it's not super high quality metal, but it's pretty thick. And so anyway, if you have a similar problem, make sure you check this and make sure that it's working, because it could very well be this. I know that just what little search I did, I saw that there was a lot of problems with these not coming out of park on the Ford Explorers and Mountaineers, and I didn't really research it or anything because I saw the carnage on this car, and there's, you know, kind of hard to test things when it's like that. But anyway, this I would definitely test and check if you're having a problem where, you know, your shaft's not broke but it's hard to get out of gear. Check this out and see if this is working right. So anyway, this thing is fixed, and we will put this hoopty back on the road.